نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله تعالى بين يدي الساعة بشيرا ونذيرا فبلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح للأمة وجاهد في الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين فصلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين اللهم اجعلنا منهم آمين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون أما بعد. It's no secret, I don't need to remind anyone or tell anyone about the ongoing genocide that has been raging on, and unfortunately there doesn't appear to be an end in sight. And since the genocide started, and it certainly didn't start October 7, 2023, but since the genocide has been escalated, we all can think back to the emotions that we felt, especially when 2 years ago. Since then, we've all experienced a wide array, an array of emotions. Deep sadness and sorrow, intense anger, just pure agony at what's been happening to our brothers and sisters in Gaza and many other places around the world. And then this heavy feeling that we've all experienced. The nature of the human is that it protects itself. So whenever the body gets hot, what does it do? It starts to sweat to try to cool off the body. When the body gets cold, it starts to shiver to try to protect the body and make it warm. Oftentimes what happens when we experience trauma, when we experience some difficult emotions that are very, very difficult to cope with, the response of the body of the human is to protect itself and shield itself from those intense emotions, and it starts to care a little bit less. And that's its human nature of protecting ourselves. And if we don't guard ourselves from this reality, then what will happen is the reality that many of us experience. We become apathetic. First we see the images, and it does something to our heart. It moves us, and it moves us into action. But after so many times seeing, either we get desensitized, may Allah protect us, or as a result of when you combine these emotions with the feeling of helplessness, that we feel like there's nothing we can do, then the result oftentimes is apathy, I just don't care anymore. Even though none of us would ever claim that, but our actions are what truly is on our minds. When we see the images, when we hear about news, when we hear reminders of going to this protest or doing this action alert, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. And none of us have the same vigor and passion and emotions that we had 2 years ago. And so my khutbah today is to try to address this trend that we unfortunately are seeing, where many of us are getting tired and burnt out. Some of us are burnt out from the continued advocacy, continued fighting, continued making dua, continued never-ending fighting for Gaza and championing whatever we can do, whether it's small or big. But then some of us, unfortunately, are tired of hearing about Gaza. I gave this khutbah once in a masjid, and somebody said, "Brother, wallahi, another khutbah about Gaza? Another khutbah about Palestine?" So wherever you are in the spectrum of emotions that we've been feeling, no doubt about it, we've experienced heavy feelings. Powerful feelings. But some of those powerful feelings have subsided. So my khutbah today is to address this, to try to reinvigorate that passion. And it's not going to be an easy task. But like medicine, when you have a 3-year-old, you give him medicine, he's not going to like it, but he needs it. The prescription for us today is to review some of the heroes and also some of the horrors of Gaza and Palestine. To try to break the hardness of our hearts. To try to get us to renew that passion, that vigor. And then also the second trend that we'll address is the trend of hopelessness, of despair, of there's nothing we can do for the people of Gaza and Palestine. But for this first trend, let us remember the heroes of Gaza. Like the doctors, many of you know, there's many of them from our community, health professionals, nurses and doctors that went on medical missions to Gaza. But nothing that pales in comparison to the heroes of the medical professionals there in Gaza that have been there since day one, working tirelessly in the front lines, trying to bring whatever healing and whatever comfort they can bring to those that have been wounded and been bombed. But it's so bad. One of the doctors that comes back on a medical mission, you might have seen it. They say that I was treating this boy that has been wounded severely. And despite the fact that there's no pain medication to try to give him a little bit of comfort and relief. And despite that fact, he's telling his dad while he's being treated these words that haunt me. He's telling his dad, despite his wound, Baba, I'm hungry. Baba, I'm hungry. I can't take the hunger. Despite the fact that he's been bombed and he's wounded. He has no pain medication. He's focused on the hunger and the famine, that's the man-made famine that is unfortunately continued. Remember the heroes, though, who are shedding light on what is happening there. The reporters, the heroes, the journalists, the reporters who are there in Gaza every single day, reporting it, doing anything they can to live stream, to show the world, to plead their case, saying this is what is happening. There is in fact a genocide. There is in fact an evil army, an evil genocidal apartheid state that is starving our children, that won't even allow the doctors that are coming in to bring in, simple formula for the babies. Like those heroes, Anas al-Sharif, may Allah have mercy upon him and accept him in the highest levels of Jannah, Ya Rabb, and all the other reporters and journalists who have been killed. But remember Anas al-Sharif and the will that he gave, that he left for each and every one of us. Those are heroes. Walking shuhada on this earth, the ones that are continuing on, not putting their head down, continuing forward, doing everything they can, every ounce of their blood, sweat and tears, continuing, and they're not giving up. So the question is, if they're not giving up, how can we? And when we hear these stories, we have to look and find and see Gaza in everything. Because right now, the natural inclination is that we look away from Gaza. Is that not the case? We have to see Gaza and examples of Gaza in everything we do. If we go on vacation and you're there on a beach, think about the children of Gaza that are on the beaches, and yet despite the fact that there are flotillas trying to come and bring them aid, they're still hungry. I mentioned that Baba, I'm hungry. It haunts me. I have a 3-year-old son. He comes home from school, I feed him dinner. Like any 3-year-old, they don't want to go to sleep. It's time to go to sleep. What does he tell me? He says, Baba, I'm hungry. Baba, I'm hungry. I feed him another dinner, another snack. Still, Baba, I'm hungry. That's what I mean. You have to see everything that you see, and it pains us. Sometimes I don't even want to eat when I hear him. Every single night, every other night, it's the same theme. But we can't allow that to just forget about what's happening. No, we have to look at it and double down and pay attention and remind others. Speak about with it, bring to life these heroes that we're sharing, that we're remembering, like Khalid Nabhan. Remember the grandfather, Ruh al-Ruh, who was holding his lifeless granddaughter Reem, and all the other martyrs, those, what some experts are sharing, 580,000 shuhada. And whatever Allah knows the real number is, bring those shuhada to life in your home. The same way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they are the shuhada, they are not dead. Don't say about them that they're deceased. No, بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. That bring the heroes to life in your homes. Share those stories with your children. Go on Twitter, go on the Telegram channels that you might be in, and look at the horrors. Don't look away from the horrors, to remind us, to not allow our hearts to get desensitized and to get hardened. So the question then becomes, where do we draw hope from? Where do we draw hope from such sheer agony and pain and misery and feeling like there's nothing we can do? The first place that we draw hope is from the akhirah. The reality that there is Jannat al-Firdaus al-A'la that is waiting for the shuhada. The reality that there is a hellfire and there is Allah's justice waiting for the oppressors. We draw hope from the akhirah. The siege in Gaza is not that different from, subhanAllah, if you look closely at the seerah, the life of the Prophet ﷺ, it has striking similarities to the boycott that the Prophet ﷺ and his companions and his family faced from the people of Quraysh, the leaders of Quraysh, that they put 3 years where he was sent to the valley of Abu Talib, where they had no food, no water, and the Prophet ﷺ faced this siege, this boycott. And despite the agony, the calamity, the suffering, pay attention to this story. One of the great Sahaba, Khabbab ibn al-Arat, who was one of the Sahaba that was from the early Muslims who experienced unimaginable torture. If there was anyone who had a right to complain, it would have been Khabbab. But pay attention to what Khabbab said. In the midst of this boycott, he comes to the Prophet ﷺ and he tells him, Ya Rasulullah, can you not? No. You see the unimaginable pain that we're in, the hunger. Can you not make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to relieve this suffering, to relieve this calamity upon us? And again, I shared the context. The Prophet ﷺ is rahmatan lil alameen, the mercy to all the worlds. And what would you expect his response to be? Maybe to be a shoulder to cry on, maybe to go and embrace Khabbab and say, it's going to be okay, we're going to get through this together. That in fact wasn't the case. Pay attention to what the Prophet ﷺ, he said. He got mad at Khabbab for saying this, for asking this. He said, إِنَّكُمْ قَوْمٌ تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ. You're a hasty people. You're a hasty people, and there are people who before you who face worse. That was the reaction of the Prophet ﷺ. You know why? Because Khabbab was in a state of despair. He was in a state of licking his wounds. He was in a state where he was hopeless. And the Prophet ﷺ was going to remind him, the believer, the Muslim does not get hopeless and does not despair. But no, Khabbab, keep your head up. Because there's others who face worse and we're going to get through this. The Prophet ﷺ didn't give him a warm hug. He gave him a stern reminder. Because that was him, the Prophet ﷺ, his version of mercy at that moment. What Khabbab needed was to be empowered, was to be reminded that the believer can never lose hope. The believer can never put his head down in shame, in agony and despair, feeling helpless, feeling like there's nothing I can do to change the circumstances. The Prophet ﷺ was ensuring that he didn't give up. And is that not the dose of medicine that we as an ummah need right now, especially as an American community? And before we resume, brothers, come forward. I see a lot of space. There's some brothers that need space in the back. Come forward. Make space in this gathering. Allah will make space for you in a better gathering in Jannah, Ya Rabbi. So the Prophet ﷺ, his mercy in that moment was to empower him with the knowledge and insight and perspective that don't sit there feeling sorry for yourself. Don't sit there feeling sorry for yourself that you can't do anything about the genocide in Gaza. No, in fact, you can do something about the genocide in Gaza, and we'll speak about that. But this way of looking at the world with doom and gloom glasses on, everything is in a pessimistic way, is not the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is not the way of the prophetic way that we should handle this current situation that our ummah is facing. Where else do we draw hope from, brothers and sisters? We draw hope from the fact that history has shown every pharaoh will fall. Every pharaoh will fall flat on their face. And for the sake of time, we don't have time to go delve deep into it, but I wanted to highlight one of the great perhaps you might say this is one of the darkest moments of the ummah. The reality, objectively speaking, it's not. I want to bring you back to one of the ones that was the darkest times. This isn't the worst genocide that our ummah has faced. Perhaps one of the worst, the historians say, is when the Mongols, they came to the Muslims and they massacred city after city. In the year 1220, the Mongols and Genghis Khan, he came to Bukhara, the city where Imam al-Bukhari was from, modern day Uzbekistan, and he wiped out the entire people. He left there a mountain of skulls as a warning. This is what you're going to get if you defy our empire. 38 years the Mongol Empire continued to grow and to continue to expand until they had one of the darkest moments of our ummah, the siege of Baghdad, where the great libraries, you've all heard the story, where the great libraries of Baghdad were then all the books of science, all the books of Islamic sciences and medical sciences, you name it, were thrown into the Euphrates and Tigris River, where they said that the color of the river changed. Some people say it was black from the ink, some people say it was red from the bloodshed. And the Mongols continued expanding until there was a turning point. You know what that turning point was? Certainly, and we're going to speak about and honor the Mamluks in Egypt that defeated at the Battle of Ain Jalut. But there's a context that didn't happen in a vacuum. You know what happened? Genghis Khan and his army, or Genghis Khan's children, actually, he had already passed away. The grandson of Genghis Khan now was leading the army. He was now attacked from two fronts because there was a division, and another grandson of Genghis Khan became Muslim. And when he saw the massacre of Baghdad, he said, absolutely not. You will not massacre my brothers and sisters this way. And he started to gather other of his clansmen, other from the actual Mongol army, and then there was an army from both sides. So the Mamluks were defending the honor of the Ummah on one side in Egypt, and then at the same time the Mongols were, certainly some of their resources were taken away because of the grandson of Genghis Khan who was fighting for defending the honor of the Ummah. But do you know how all this happened? It happened because there was two merchants, despite the agony of the Ummah of that time. When they encountered this grandson of Genghis Khan, they gave him da'wah and he became Muslim. They didn't diminish the opportunity to do one small good deed. Imagine if they said, oh, this is a Mongol, you know what they're doing to the Muslims. No point in giving da'wah to this person. But no. They gave the da'wah, and it's for that reason that history doesn't even document the name of these two merchants. Yet it was their actions whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala magnified and multiplied the impact of their efforts. And that's the reminder, brothers and sisters. It's not on us to carry to carry the burden of the success. On our shoulders is only to carry the burden of the effort. وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. The only thing and this is a theme throughout the Quran, the only thing that matters for you and I, for mankind, is our effort. The only thing that matters is our effort. Imagine if those two merchants had that mentality, why bother? And isn't that the reality of what we see today? When there's any call to action, it's helplessness. Why bother? Why bother go to that protest? We've been going for 2 years, it didn't do anything. Why bother calling my elected official? We've been doing it for 2 years, it didn't do anything. Why bother posting on social media? I've been posting on social media for how many years? Diminishing one small action. Brothers and sisters, my reminder to you on this Yawm al-Jum'ah, on this blessed Yawm al-Jum'ah, is never diminish those small actions. On our shoulders is not the responsibility to save Gaza, but it is our responsibility to care about Gaza. It is our responsibility to keep going. It is our responsibility, if we got comfortable after so many months of just getting lulled into back to our lives and so many good things, our kids, our work, or this and that. But if we got comfortable, it's time to get uncomfortable again. If we were tired before and then we rested and now we're not tired again, as Imam Umar Sulaiman said, he said now is the time to get tired. It's not that time to give up. Some of us, we have entertainment. Some people, when I was younger, I played video games. Now I watch sports. I do this and that. Everybody has something they do for entertainment. For some of us, our entertainment is endless political commentary, just watching the news, watching this commentary, that commentary. And as a result of those people are sometimes the most hopeless. And all they do whenever they see someone doing some good, they diminish it. Armchair critics. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man qala halaka an-nas fahuwa ahlakahum." That whoever said the people are doomed, there's no hope, they're the most hopeless amongst them. And another narration, they're the ones who caused them to be hopeless. Now is not the time to sit there licking our chops, licking our wounds. It's the time to get up, and it's the time for action. It's the time to look around and say, what benefit, what can I do for the people of Gaza and Palestine? Can I call my elected official? Can I send them a letter about any policy? Even if it's not for a ceasefire, there's other policies that I'll share that are relevant to Palestine. If there's people hungry around me, I can't feed the people of Gaza. Can I feed the people around me and ensure that there's nobody here in Claremont and Pomona in the Inland Empire that's hungry, supporting organizations that champion that work? If I see so many people, I open social media and there's those people that have been consistent every single day. It doesn't matter. They're always posting on their story about Gaza, about what's happening in the United Nations, about the people, walking out on that genocider, on that evil. May Allah take him and do away with him, Ya Allah, as you see best fit. And whatever else, Microsoft taking away this, all the small wins, posting about it non-stop. And that's the reality, brothers and sisters. Looking at it objectively, unfortunately, we're in this country where the politicians are so power hungry and the dollars are holding their necks, and other things that are blackmailing them. The whole tide has turned already in the world. We already saw that. We've already seen that. Long time ago. The cat's out of the bag. Every single week, every single day, there's always continued people. Even the right-wing pundits, the buffoons, that we don't endorse anything that they say. I'm not going to name names, but even the right wing, their tide is turning. Even they're talking about the genocide. Even they're talking about America first, that we shouldn't be, involved in all of this. The tide is turning. So we have to use these moments to give us hope. Is not about being optimistic. There's a difference. Hope is about persevering despite the fact that we're not optimistic. That's what hope is. That's what the Prophet ﷺ was teaching Khutbah. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us never to be from those who lose hope. To never allow us to be those who get complacent, who think about all the things that we can't do and that we're helpless to do, but focus on the things that we can do. We ask you, Allah, by your infinite grace and boundless mercy, to have mercy on the people of Palestine and to bring relief and victory to the people of Gaza and Palestine. We ask you, Allah, by your infinite grace and boundless mercy, to have mercy upon all the believing men and women, Ya Allah, in this world. Ya Allah, you know every leaf that drops from the sky, from the trees rather. You know every single person who's hungry. Ya Allah, we ask you to be their aid and to grant them good food to quench their hunger and to quench their thirst. Anybody, Ya Allah, who has been taken away from their loved one, Ya Allah, reunite them with their loved one. Ya Allah, for anybody who is facing oppression in any way, Ya Allah, grant them victory over their oppressors. And Ya Allah, we are humble, weak servants, Ya Allah. We don't have the patience to continue to see this, Ya Allah. We ask you to show us your power and your might and your authority against those oppressors. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى وبعد. Allah says in the Quran, إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي. And then he commands us, يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك وأنعم وأكرم على حبيبنا محمد في الأولين وفي الآخرين وفي الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. Brothers and sisters, there's a reason and a wisdom for what's happening in Gaza. We've all seen it in our lives. Something happens and 20 years later, oh subhanAllah, that's the wisdom. We know for a fact Allah's plan is manifesting His divine decree exactly as He has ordained it. And the victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is coming. It is a fact, it is a certainty. But until that point, we have to ensure that we are a part of bringing that victory. We have to bear the personal responsibility. What am I doing and what am I instilling in my family to bring about that victory? Perhaps it's that shaitan has orchestrated all this for us to throw in the towel. So that not only do we work for a ceasefire, but so we just give up on the possibility of seeing a free Palestine in our lives. But no, shaitan will not win. He will not allow us to be hopeless. We'll continue fighting. Perhaps it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is making it so that that genocide state, the apartheid state, is so hated that not only will they be forced, their hands to be forced to free and to release the siege, but that we will see a free Palestine in our lifetime. Whatever the wisdom is, Ya Allah, we ask, Ya Allah, when we are questioned on the Day of Judgment, Ya Allah, we ask you to have a good, we ask you to empower us to live our lives in such a way that we have answers to answer the questions that we will face. Brothers and sisters, I come to you as a representative of CARE LA, Council on American Islamic Relations here in Los Angeles. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into what the work that we do or why you should support. But CARE is currently been fighting against a policy bill that has already been passed by the California State Assembly and Senate, that it is on the governor's desk for him to sign it into law. This law will essentially force educators and teachers, and it will put a muzzle on them so they can't teach about what's happening in Palestine, so that they can't teach the truth about genocide. That if they mention it, it's going to be conflated. We all know this false narrative that it's anti-Semitic and all this garbage. This has been passed into law and it's on the governor's desk. On my table, inshallah, I'll have a QR code for you to come and fill out the QR code on your phone. It takes 1 minute to send a letter to the governor voicing your opposition to this, pleading with him to not put this into law. And this is an example of one small action that I'm telling you, don't dismiss it. Allah knows best whether He will sign it or not. But it's an example where we have to rally the community. CARE's mission is to build Muslim power. So when we have a khutbah like this, and we have other khatibs that are sharing the message, if everybody did it, the only reason why someone could say, well, it's not going to have an effect, is because everybody doesn't do it. So my invitation to you, brothers and sisters, is stop by the table, fill out that QR code, do one small thing, and we'll see how Allah magnifies the reward as well as the impact. We ask you, Allah, by your infinite grace and boundless mercy, to have mercy upon us. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Ya Allah, we ask you, for all of us that have needs, that have, we want to get married, we want to have a job, we want to get a better job, we want to get a better relationship with our kids or our wife, or whatever our needs are, Ya Allah, we ask you, Allah, to answer our du'as on this blessed Yawm al-Jum'ah. The du'as that we've been making since Ramadan, for 10 years, for 30 years, Ya Allah, accept all those du'as, Ya Allah. Except the greatest du'a, Ya Allah, that we make in this moment is, Ya Allah, bring a free Palestine. Bring a world free from oppression, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, have mercy upon all those who have, our loved ones who have deceased, who have passed away. And Ya Allah, grant healing and your shifa, Ya Allah, to all those who are sick. Ya Allah, we ask you for all the good things of this life and the next that our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked for and sought for and yearned for. And we seek protection from all the things that he sought protection from. La ilaha illallah. We ask you, Allah, by your infinite grace and boundless mercy, to have mercy upon us. Do not allow us to leave this house of yours, Ya Allah, without enveloping us in your forgiveness, with your mercy, Ya Allah. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم وذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقم الصلاة.